In a letter to the Justice Department, to the Obama administration, you describe what your son did as civil disobedience. There are those who say, well, look, civil disobedience is accepting the ramifications of your actions, of your decision, of taking the punishment. Why do you see this as civil disobedience?
Well, first of all, I think he is accepting the consequences. Again, as if you look at his 12-minute video and what he said, he's not living a very comfortable life at this point. He said he's an American. He loves his country. I know my son. I know he loves his country. Well, you know, what he believed is that this information, the American people needed to be aware of what their government was doing to them, spying upon them. And, you know,
I could interject with this issue of civil disobedience. Anderson, if it were true that there was a comfort level that a fair trial would be offered to Mr. Snowden, I think your question would be far more pointed.
You don't believe fair trial is possible?
Because what we've had, you've shown part of it in the introduction here. We've had 4, 5, 6 members of the administration, members of Congress, convicting Edward of treason. We haven't even had a single trial. We haven't even had an official grand jury indictment. They're already saying he's guilty of treason. We don't even have the Attorney General saying he enjoys a presumption of innocence. We have the President of the United States denigrating Mr. Snowden as a hacker, not somebody who was trying to generate the national conversation over these dragnet surveillance that the President himself said was urgent.
Well, that's what's interesting, because the President has said he wants this conversation. This is the conversation the American public need to have. Do you believe that this is a conversation?
No, absolutely I don't. It's one thing, you know, words mean one thing, actions mean another, and that's much in the same way of our national character. I'm really disappointed by what I've seen. You know, our national character, much as with individuals, is determined by what we do when we think that no one is watching, when we think that we won't be held accountable. And it's not just a matter of what's legal, of what's constitutional, it's a matter of what's ethical.
And think of this oddity as well, Anderson. The Attorney General writes a letter to the Ministry of Justice in Russia, and he has to go out of his way to say, we won't torture Edward if he comes back. We are at that position of a country where we need to give assurances to others we won't torture you like Bradley Manning.
Do you believe him when he says that? When he says that no death penalty and the United States doesn't torture?
Well, at this point, I believe it would be in the best interest of the Justice Department, and we've attempted to work with the Justice Department and both the people investigating this, and I just do not believe that that collaboration, the good faith exists anymore. So I'm very, very disappointed, and we've attempted to get assurances that Ed would receive a fair trial. I have absolutely no faith in Eric Holder, the Attorney General of the United States.
A couple of the things that he omitted.
You don't believe your son would receive a fair trial?
Absolutely not. Not at this point. No, absolutely not.
A couple of the things that the Attorney General omitted from his letter in trying to describe the fair trial Edward would receive would be the right to confront the witnesses or the evidence against him. No secret evidence. He didn't mention that. The right that Edward would have to summon witnesses in his favor. No mention of that. The presumption of innocence. No mention of that. Why? They seem very, very glaring, because we know that the government would try to claim classification, national security secrets. We can't disclose this to the defendant.
When you see the way Bradley Manning was treated early on and in the conditions that he was confined in, do you believe your son would be basically held in those same conditions?
No, I think because that was so embarrassing to our government and the people who were responsible for it. But it doesn't change. It makes clear what the mindset is. President Obama, when he was first running for president, he talked about how how important whistleblowers were. Well, let's go back. June 7th, after this story broke, he told the American people that, hey, we're not reading your emails and we're not listening to your phone calls. On June 8th, a link on the White House website, I believe, that was linked to his language regarding whistleblowers and their importance, that disappeared.